All right. It's all good.
Welcome to the Get Fit With Me, expanding your physical and mental fitness group. This group is for individuals who are looking to expand both their physical and mental fitness while helping and supporting others with similar goals all along the way. So I am in a different location for those of you who have been watching. You really take for granted the good lighting that you have in your life. So I apologize for the little bit of shadowness that we may have, but the Wi-Fi is good. So I'm going to take it. So today I have kind of a big announcement for me that I want to share with you, but then we also have a special guest speaker, Karen, with us. And she is the one who actually inspired this training topic. She's part of our accountability program, and we got texting back and forth one day, and she asked me this question, and it really stopped me in my tracks of like, oh, there is a learning curve to living with your partner and having different goals and making the lifestyle work. And I'm not perfect at it, but I have done it in a few different aspects and I can teach on it. So we're going to get to interview Karen, kind of see what her situation is, see if you maybe fall into that. I know a handful of you guys actually responded on the post yesterday. So I loved hearing where you kind of stood in your family, different things that you've learned and how they've actually been incorporated into some of your health journey with you. But okay, so I have some really exciting news. I was in Wisconsin. I just flew in this morning from Wisconsin. I got the opportunity to do co-host / run a corporate staff retreat. So it was a team of 8, and Becky, who is in this group, shout out to her. She was an amazing person to work with. She was the other person I was co-hosting with. And she does more of like that mental fitness side, which meant I got to run the nutrition and physical fitness side for this team of 8. I got to cook their meals, every single one of their meals. Don't underestimate cooking for more than like 2 people. I'm out there cutting and prepping. I'm like, this is so much food. But it was enough for them to have leftovers, and I didn't want anyone to go hungry. I didn't want to be like, nope, only ration. Nope, you only get your serving. I wanted them to enjoy and have this amazing time of just being with one another, getting away from work, and really taking in physical fitness, mental fitness, and nutrition, and learning something that they could then take away with them. Their boss is amazing. She is fantastic to work with. And she has created this team of people who want to be there and support one another and see each other grow. And part of the reason I'm sharing this is one, this was a huge step in my business and in me to be able to go do this. But also it's the power of having somebody else to support you along the way. The power of having either, whether it's a group, one individual, a family, that support, even if it's just on in the very smallest way, helps us to be better and helps us to want to keep moving forward and being better rather than going back the opposite way or staying where we are. So that was my little share, as you can tell, of my excitement. It was great. And I hadn't flown since January. So flying was great. I love flying.
I do too.
I love now being able to walk through the airport, know exactly where I'm going, get all settled, don't have to rush, like having all the things prepped. It feels so satisfying.
And when the door closes, all you can do is just sit and relax.
Yes, I flew. So I don't know for any of you guys who have flown from Detroit, Michigan to Madison, Wisconsin. It's the smallest plane I think you will ever fly on. And I flew Delta, and normally when you fly Delta, you have TVs. Yeah, I didn't have TVs. Luckily, I had headphones and an audiobook downloaded. He was very boring. I slept the whole way and my head bounced around. I woke up and the snacks came by and I was like, okay, I'm going to be awake now because we're landing in about 10 minutes. Some almonds and some pretzels, please.
Yeah, I'll take both.
Yes, always both. If they offer both, take them.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, for those of you who are on Facebook Live or watching the replay, remember to follow along in the comments and drop and let us know who you are, where you're from, and do you struggle or have any challenges either with a roommate you live with or a significant other or family members when it comes to supporting you kind of through that healthy lifestyle that you're starting to create. And maybe it's not a struggle or a challenge, but it's a fear you have to share this journey you want to be on with them. So if you have any of those, drop them in the comments. We got Andrea in the Facebook, cleaning the house and just listening. Awesome to have you here. I love the multitasking. So feel free to drop those answers in there. And I also apologize for all my moving. I'm used to standing. So this whole sitting thing is like throwing me off today. So Karen, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what types of struggles or challenges or fears do you have? Because I know you're married. So share some of that.
Fears, struggles, challenges. I know you're married. Well, I'm Karen Wheatley. I live in Rising Sun, Maryland. My husband and I built a house on the farm that I grew up on. So I have come full circle after living in 6 other states. I have made my way back to right where I grew up. So it's kind of ironic to me. And it's funny because you said something about sharing your household space with other people that may or may not be on your journey. And when I was growing up, we were a very typical farm family, like meat, potatoes, vegetables every night. And lunches were huge. Breakfast was huge. And if you didn't partake in that, you kind of got the, well, what's wrong with you? Are you feeling sick? Are you, and so if you live in that environment, it's awesome. But it's 18 years of conditioning that if you don't do that, something's wrong with you. And so when I married my husband, he is a very much of a person that eats when he's hungry, and it doesn't matter what time it is. So if he's not hungry all day, he'll drink water and he'll drink tea and he won't eat because he's not hungry. And I did the whole famous, what's wrong with you? thing when we first got married. And so yeah, it's just crazy how it's crazy how that impacts your thinking of what you think is normal, right?
Absolutely. And I like how you said those first 18 years. And those are a part in our life that is we learn a lot in those 18 years. And the things that we learn in those 18 years is what sticks with us, right? Our habits, routines, the way we act, the way we react to things. Right. And a lot of times we don't think about our eating habits or our exercise habits. Maybe some of us were athletes and we're no longer athletes. And then we're like, what the heck do we do? I don't go to practice anymore 5 days a week. Like, right. I don't know what to do. So I'm excited to kind of interview you a little bit because, like I mentioned, Karen came up with this idea for this training. She's part of our accountability program, and we were messaging back and forth probably about a month and a half ago now. Mm-hmm. And she'd been struggling with some sleep. She's like, how do you have the conversation with your significant other of like, hey, I need to go do this, but I still want to be with you, like navigating some of those conversations. And I kind of thought, okay, that's a really good point, because I live with Mike and we've lived together for, I think, 4.5 years now, but I had roommates before. Mm-hmm. And the people you live with do not and will not have the exact same goal that you do, because we are our own individual person. So you may have somebody who does not have the exact same goal, which I'm going to say 100% of us will not. You may have somebody in your household who has a similar goal, or you may have somebody who's not even interested in taking a step in their health journey right now. And that's okay in any aspect, because we love them and we accept them for who they are and who they're not. But it also is important to know certain things about ourselves that we can still be successful, but still have those successful relatiesphips, no matter what type it is.
And it doesn't mean that you love them any less. I think you always try to, especially if it's a spouse or partner relationship, you want to be that person that they love and they expect you to be. Right. And sometimes it's hard to step out and be like, but I just want to do this instead. If that's okay.
And change. Mm-hmm. We change as the years go on. Karen and I were just talking before we went live here, and she saw me back in 2020 when I started all of this. And she's like, Morgan, you've grown so much. And Karen, since you and Mike have been married 2 years now, or 3?
Year and a half.
Year and a half.
No.
You guys,
oh, gosh, no.
He doesn't watch this. It's okay.
Okay, good. It's been a lot longer than that. We've been living in this house a year and a half.
Okay.
We've been married 4 years.
So in the last 4 years, you have grown.
Mhm.
You've grown. That first year of marriage and that second year of marriage, you guys have grown together, but you've also just grown as a person in your career, in your life, in the way you deal with things. Like, we grow throughout it.
Mhm.
And that's natural, no matter what type of relationship we're in. So
Right.
navigating, I want to make a change, how having that conversation.
Yeah, because you hear that in conversation. Well, we grew apart, or we grew in different directions. And that, I think that if you're in a relationship, that to me always scares me. Like, I don't want to grow in a different direction. I want us to change and adapt, but I want us to still grow together, and become better because of it. And I'm very fortunate because Mike has always been supportive of me and my weight loss journey. Like, I'm not a size 0. I probably never will be. And he is one of those husbands that says, I love you the way you are, and that's awesome. But he also says, if you want to do this, cool, and
Right.
and he'll say, like, if it's late at night, and he is very thin, like, he has a great metabolism, and um he will say, I don't want to eat anything in front of you because I don't want to make you feel bad.
Mm.
And which I totally appreciate. But I also want him to be himself too. Like, I don't want him to, if he wants to grab cookies at 10 o'clock at night, go ahead, because that's reality. Like,
Mhm.
I can cushion myself in my house, but at some point I have to leave the house and be around people that are eating things that I shouldn't eat, and eating at a time when I shouldn't eat. And I have to be okay with that.
And I love that you said that you want him to be able to have, I'm going to use the word freedom, like the freedom to just eat, do whatever he wants, exercise, move however he wants, when he wants.
Mhm.
And that you want the freedom to do that as well, because your schedules are not the same. I know we've talked about,
Yeah.
he's sometimes on the road, you're sometimes on the road, like, schedules don't always align,
Right.
which means dinner may not always be at the same time, which means that eating different, maybe one of you is eating chips at one point of the night, other one of you is eating leftovers. Who knows what it looks like?
Right. Right. And I think that's part of it too, is just being okay with that. Like, we're both, we grew up differently. He grew up in town and I grew up on a farm. And so, our frame of reference of what our marriage should be like is probably different. And so we both have been able to be, and maybe that's part of being in our 50s too. Like, hey, it is what it is, and it is nice that he's a little more laid back and not so, we need to be doing this. And but I approached him. I don't know if I should launch into this, but I approached him one night just about, hey, I want to make some changes for me to be healthier, and I hope that's okay with you. And he goes, of course it's okay with me. Kind of shocked that I asked him, but I feel like we're partners. We're in this, we have a farm now too. So we're team members in everything. We're, married couple, parents to his adult children, but still, parents, and we work together on the farm. And so, yeah, we're with each other a lot. And so I just wanted to make sure that, something like that would be okay.
I love that you had that conversation, because that is the number one thing that I have learned throughout this, is to have the conversation, whether it's with a roommate, if you're still living with your parents, whether it's you live alone and you just go to family outing, like you go and see family a lot,
Mhm.
because there's some of you who live alone, but also deal with these other peoples in your life that they may not live with you, but your decisions you make may affect them. Enrolling them in the conversation of, this is what I want to do. This is why I want to do it. And this is the type of support, if any, that I would like from you. So the other is, how would you like, so you've had that conversation with Mike. Maybe you could either be like, nope, I just wanted to let you know. But it could also be like, I need you when it's 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday and I'm going to go grab the chips. I need you to tell me no. And I need to be able, like, I need that extra support in that spot.
Mhm.
So it's also navigating where they're not your policemen, but at the same time, you need a little extra support from that people in your life. So
Right.
sharing why you are doing it, enrolling them, even saying, is that something you're interested in pursuing with me?
Mhm.
Because they may shockingly say yes. And then you're like, okay, let's do it. Like, you never know if you
Right.
don't ask.
Right. And it's a journey. We've talked about that before. And I think the way that he reacts to me either encourages me on that journey or not. And I can flip it around and things that he asks me about, you can and I say this lovingly because I think it was a different time when I was growing up, but it was almost judgmental when you didn't want to eat. What do you mean you don't want to eat meat, potatoes, and vegetables, for dinner? What? And I think there's a level of I don't know, judgment that comes when people kind of give you that. What do you mean you need to make a change? Or what do you mean you want to go to bed a half an hour early to read? It no matter what the reason, I think it's just important as we evolve to just be okay with, you don't have to do things the way I do things, and that's okay.
And the reason I think sometimes we feel those judgments is, or we're afraid to ask, is because they're afraid of change
Yes.
and the reaction we may get from them. We know they love and support us, no matter who it is, partner, family member, friend, but we don't know what their reaction is. So we're hesitant about things.
Mhm.
Whereas if we were to live in a world of, we really don't ever know how they're going to respond, because we don't. If we just let the rest go and just come in openly and open-minded of I don't know how they're going to respond. It comes off, we would most likely have these conversations more frequently,
Yes.
and they probably go a little bit more smooth.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, for example, my sister-in-law is she can't have gluten.
Mm.
And for a long time it was the whole, well, what are we going to have for holiday meals, and I don't think she chose that. I think that was just how her body responds. So I guess it was Easter this year that I had her over and had her for dinner. And instead of like saying, I'm just going to cook what I normally cook for Easter, and if she can't eat it, too bad, I made this super salad. Like, it was crazy good with so much good stuff in it. And everybody's like, boy, the salad is awesome. And I did it for her because, and we don't normally have salad at Easter, but it was like, it just got me to change my way of thinking of, hey, this is good. We don't need all the heavy creamed onions and all other stuff, which are good. Scalloped potatoes, good. But maybe there's just a different way to look at it that wouldn't be so bad.
And by her sharing that with you, it allowed you to, in the beginning, have an idea of, I'm just going to cook what I normally cook. But if she wouldn't have told you, you would have been like, well, why is she not eating my food?
Right.
So by her sharing that, she allows you in so that you at least have an understanding. You can make the choice. And as time goes on and we feel more ready to make the change and adapt and move with it, we then make the salad. Or we then, oh, I'd like a salad too. Or, hey, do you want to go for a walk with me? Yes, I'd actually love to. Those little things that if we share and we ask, and never being offended when our people say no.
Yeah.
Do you want to go for a walk? No, I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Okay.
still doing it on your own though. And
Yeah.
not just feeling like, well, they said no, I can't go do it now. Like, if you want to do it for you.
Right.
Because number two thing that I want you guys to remember is, although you may have your roommate, your partner, your spouse, your family member, whatever it is, you are your own person and you make your own choices. And that if this journey is what you want and you need for you, they will understand. It may take a little bit, but you need to know, well, it's okay if they don't want to go walk. It's okay if they don't want to come to bed early every night with me. And knowing that you have to make the choice for you, but letting them know, that's having that open dialogue of, I'm going to bed early. Mike knows. I have Wednesday morning, I have a 6 a.m. client. 9:30 is what time I'm in bed on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I am done with my seminar, I am in bed ready because I have a client in the morning.
Mhm.
So it's knowing each other's routines and what also works well when it comes to that.
Mhm.
So Karen, I know like a month and a half ago, it was kind of the sleeping routine that is where this conversation was brought up. Is that kind of still the same area, or is there a different area where you find maybe a little bit of resistance with you and Mike to be like, ooh, this is the area sticking point where I'm wanting to move, but I'm struggling because he's not wanting to. Does that make sense?
Um, yeah, I think I've determined that I'm pretty high strung during the day. It's maybe not outwardly, but my mind just, what do they call that? Monkey mind. I think in yoga, they call that monkey mind or something, that you can't stop thinking about things. And I was going to bed with him because we have been married just under 5 years, and we do these things, we do things together, and I didn't want him to think that I didn't want to be with him. But we go from watching TV to shutting it off, going to bed, and he falls like immediately asleep,
That's me.
immediately. And and then of course that makes my mind start spinning more, like, he's asleep already, I'm not asleep, should I be asleep? I should probably be asleep, I'm going to be tired tomorrow if I don't go to sleep right now, and my mind just starts going and makes it worse. So I just thought, and I got to the point where I wasn't sleeping like maybe 2 hours a night, which is crazy,
Mhm.
crazy. So I just asked him one day, because he said, I feel bad that you can't sleep. Yeah, you're not the only one. But I think it was just because I can't turn myself off like that. And I just said, I don't know who I think it was on one of yours, or maybe Jamie had said it at some point, that they read for a half an hour
Mhm.
before bed, just to go in and like get their mind ready. And I've always heard, turn off your electronics and turn off all that stuff. And so I've been now getting my shower at night and then going to read. And it's always something light. It's not ever a nonfiction. It's just usually fiction, something. And I just found, like, when the lights go off, my mind goes off.
Mm.
It just shuts down. And it's so, gosh, it's so much better. Like, I think if I take better care of myself, for me, I can take better care of him, like, or I'm a better person to help him and support him. And not that it's all about supporting him, but if I take better care of myself, I'm going to be better at my job, with
Mhm.
my friends, with him, with our farm, the whole 9 yards. So, yeah, I kind of needed to make that a priority for me.
And that conversation went well that you had with him.
Yeah, he was he was like, well, if you go to bed early, I can watch the shows I want to watch on TV. 'Cause, we don't like the same kind of TV shows at all. So yeah, even if there's a night that I take a bath or something instead of a shower, he's like, go, take your time, I can get a whole episode in. And you just take your time. So it's funny because you keep up these appearances, like, I'm going to do this because I want to be the good wife, and he's probably thinking, well, I want to watch this show, but I really want to watch something else because I want to be the good husband. And if you're just like honest and just come out and say, hey, I need to do something different, like, it was crazy to me that he was feeling that same thing.
And that goes back into having your own routine and having your own me time. Like that right there, the fact that you were like, he was so excited, you didn't feel offended by it.
Yeah.
Because we do hold these standards of, well, we need to go to bed at the same time. We need to wake up at the same time. I gave up the waking up at the same time very long time ago because I get up about 5 a.m., 5:30. Sometimes I'll stay and I'll snuggle for a little longer, but usually it's like I have things to do. I'd rather be done earlier in the day and relax and get up early.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but it's that me time. So it's your me time, whether it's your exercise or it's your bedtime routine like you have, or it's your morning routine. Um, I was actually talking to one of my clients. We were talking about how stress can be really high, especially if you're a parent or work is busy or just life is in a transition period for you. And I was sharing with her that something that I like to do is, because I work remote, I will go to a coffee shop and get out of the house and I will have coffee with myself. And sometimes I don't even work. Like when I sit down, I went to Panera. This was like 2 months ago. I told my mom this story. Sat down at Panera, I had all of my screens because I have portable screens that I take with me. Yes, I'm like, somebody actually goes, okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one that looks weird with like 14 screens. I'm like, yeah, I do it too. But I was sitting there and this older man, I think he was like in his 70s, walked by with his coffee and said something. So I pulled my headphones out and him and I just sat and had a conversation. And it was nice to just interact with somebody who doesn't know who you are, to just have a conversation of literally anything. He was sharing, and it was just so getting out of the house and interacting with the people we don't always interact with also brings us creativity, brings us some ease. Something else that you can do is take yourself out to dinner once a week and make sure that if you don't have girl time or boy time, for all you guys that are both in here, schedule friend time to get out and go see a friend. First Wednesday of each month, I meet an old client. I no longer train her, but we do Wine Wednesday, the first Wednesday of each month. And it's like a 4-hour ordeal. By the time we get there, we have the wine, we have dinner, and we just laugh and have fun and catch up. So remembering that it's okay to be away from our people. And it's hard because we feel guilty. Like I feel guilty. But then when I come back and we have the conversation, I see him go do something on his own and I see how happy he comes back of like playing golf league on Tuesday. I want him to do that.
Right.
And I just like I want to go do wine night on my own.
Yeah.
So remembering that even when we enroll our people in our conversations, in our health, like this is what I want to do. This is how I want to move forward. This is the support I need. And this is why I'm doing it. Also letting them know that there are going to be things I'm going to do on my own. And if that ever starts to bother you or I am not seeing something, I want us to have that conversation because I do believe it's important for us to have our separate lives a little bit. Because I've talked to a few people who have been married a really long time. That's what happens when you go sit at the Panera. You've talked to a bunch of people. And they're like, it's having different hobbies, but being able to come back and share about those hobbies or those experiences. And then also having those experiences together. So if we don't have anything outside of us, the conversation eventually drains. It's what people have been telling me. So having those outside hobbies in the me time.
Yeah. You've got it. I mean, I think we all get 24 hours every day to do something with our lives, whether that, and I really think like we waste so much time. We don't even know it. We just waste time. And I think you could be bettering yourself to be a better partner, like, yeah, have some conversation to bring to the table. And I love going to dinner parties where there's actual conversation about real topics. And those, I walk away feeling like, oh, I got cultured, like, but just because people are using their minds. I think that's why it's so exciting to be around university towns, because there's that aura of people are thinking and doing and your relationship can get stagnant if it's just the two of you or you and your roommates and you do the same thing all the time and it just becomes non-thinking. It's like eating food and not thinking about it, right?
And eventually you fall back into those unhealthy habits.
Yeah.
If we're not thinking, if we're not out moving, if we're not actively thinking about where we want to go. Have you and Mike created like a goal together? So we want like just like an overall kind of healthy goal, like somewhere you guys want to be when you're older. So creating like a shared goal or discussion about the type of lifestyle that you want to live as you get older and what types of stuff needs to start happening now so that can still be the lifestyle you have when you're older. Does that make sense?
Yeah. We have both said that we want to age gracefully and we want to be those people, and we all know them. There's like 90-year-olds that come up, they're like fireballs and they can do all this stuff and they have great things to say. Like they're the kind of the grandparents that you want to sit and listen to because they have great stories and they're kind of connected to people. And we both want to be those people as we age, and so we've been trying to alter our diet a little bit. Mike is really good at, when we sit down, I will put all the plates on the table that have, all the stuff in it. But as soon as we're like, if we get one plate full and we're done eating, he's like, let's clean up. Because, if
Mhm.
we're, and at first I'm like, oh my gosh, could we just relax? But it's really good because the longer you sit there and either watch TV or whatever, you just keep, grazing. And so now, instead of getting mad at him for saying, let's clean up, I'm like, oh, I get it, because I get it. I get it. So I think, and we certainly get enough exercise walking every day, but we do want to get kayaks. Like, that's one of our goals, is we both loved kayak. And so I don't know, we talk about it. I guess we haven't really put anything into official plan, but we do want to be the cool older people.
I love that. The cool older people. So also, when I think of cool older people, I think of like those spunky grandmas who have like colored hair, like short hair, but like colors in it.
Totally. They go dancing, or they have art classes, or, whatever. I mean, they're always expanding their mind. And I think when you expand your mind, everything else follows.
Mhm. So out of your routine, sleep sounds like it's going good now that you kind of have that routine.
Yep.
So is there a different routine that you kind of want to work through, that you want to implement, that you've kind of been struggling with, just personally with yourself? And we can kind of talk about it. And then if we need to figure out how to have the conversation with Mike, we can actually practice that too, just to kind of role play. And I see your doggy.
I know she can't, she left me alone for long enough. She has to, I think the biggest thing about a routine now is I think I feel like farm work is exercise, which of course it is. I have a regular day job too, which is behind the computer, but I think I still need to incorporate time for exercise, like real exercise, not feeding, doing chores, that kind of thing, or mowing the grass or whatever. I think there needs to be specific targeted time for specific targeted parts of my body. And I struggle with that. I struggle with trying to fit that in, especially it's summertime now. There's added stuff to do. And I again, Mike is very thin naturally, so that's not something that is on his radar to incorporate regular exercise. So that's where I think my next burst of growth should come from.
So you and I talked prior to this, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but you said about your hips. With all the walking you've been doing, your hips are kind of sore and achy. Is that right?
Yeah.
Those mini bands you have those little tiny mini bands, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are really good ones. Put them right in your office. And I am a huge advocate for scheduling it on the calendar. So first thing you do when you walk into your office to start the day, it would be a great time because you haven't looked at your email, you haven't got distracted in something, you haven't got lost, is doing some band work. And I have some videos that I'll send you. So those lateral walks, those zigzag walks, it's going to help strengthen those hips, because you're right. In the summer, you're going to be moving more. You're going to be lifting heavier things because you're just being more active than you were in the winter. And we do want to think of exercise as something outside of our normal everyday routine. Mm-hmm. But it is challenging. So if we can start by just doing 3 exercises at the start of your workday every single day, that's a step.
It's probably the best time too, before you get started with the day, because the day always fills itself.
And when you do have downtime, that's something where you could then be like, hey, Mike, you want to come down to the basement and can I show you some of these band stuff? Like, and asking him if he wants to participate could be the way of, because, okay, although he is lean and he has a fast metabolism, he still needs strength training. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like this new role he's in, he's doing a lot of car sitting. Yes. which means he needs some back strengthening so that you guys can be spunky. But if you're like this, you're not going to look too spunky.
Yes.
So it's also just sharing with them the reason you're doing these exercises. Like, wow, I've been doing these exercises for my hips and I don't have pain in them anymore. Or saying, wow, I feel like my posture's gotten better. Can you tell at all? And if he says no, that's okay. But as long as you feel and you know it, like, can I show you an exercise that has really helped me remember to sit up in the car? Like sharing these with him, and not in a way of you need to do it, but like sharing from the experience of, I found benefit in this. I don't know if you will, but I want to show you. Coming from it in that way and enrolling him, and slowly you guys will both do it at your own pace.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I wrote that down.
Perfect. So with the morning routines, you'll have lateral walks, zigzag walks, and then your other one is either going to be squats or zigzags. Or sorry, squats or glute bridges. I have videos for all of that. So you will get those videos. Anyone else who wants those videos, just drop a video in the comment and I will make sure to get those YouTube tutorial videos to you. So we've hit the three things that really I have found that is helpful for allowing things to run more smoothly. That's the word I like to use, because it's not perfect. No relationship is perfect. No way that we all move is perfect, because we all have different lives, different goals, different ways we do things. And the biggest things are share and enroll the people in your life in the healthy lifestyle that you want to have. Tell them why you are doing it, why it's important to you, what type of support you need from them. And also remember to share the good wins. We talk about wins here. Like, hey, Mike, I just drank 64 ounces of water today. He may fist pump, or he may be like, great job. Like, whatever that may be, share that with them. Because although it may not hit them in the time, it may be the reminder to them of, wow, how much water did I drink today? Or, hey, I've done my mini band workouts all 5 days this week. Well, what are those? It just also leads to conversations when you share your wins. But also don't be afraid to share the bad stuff of, yeah, I binged on those chips. I told Morgan, but I'm going to tell you, because it just brings it to life, because it happens. And if we want to be open and transparent with our partners, with our roommates, with our family members, whoever it is, we got to be transparent with the bad things in our health journey too, because if they see it as perfect and it's going smoothly, and they start to go on that journey and they're starting to have not perfect, and they're going to be like, well, what the hell am I doing wrong?
Exactly. Yep.
So share the good and the bad.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We always like to share the shiny things, not the penny that we found underneath the bus seat that's been there for 14 years.
That's right. And if somebody is watching you, and somebody always is watching what you're doing, if they see all the perfect, they're just going to be like, I'll never be able to do that. So I'm not even going to try.
Exactly. I'm going to be completely honest here. My goal was to work out while I was gone on vacation. I told the group on Monday in that post of what's everyone committed to this week. Mine was water, but I also had it in my calendar to work out. That did not happen once. I laid down after the first day and my legs, I was like, I need to get up and grab my retainers. And I'm like, I'm not sure my legs move, because I was so exhausted. And I was listening to my body. So yes, I have workouts that I need to make up, but if they don't happen, I know I'm honest with myself, and I'm happy to share that I committed to something, I didn't do it. And I know why I didn't do it. So share those good and bad. The second thing we talked about was have your own routine and some me time, whether it's taking yourself out to coffee, going out to dinner on your own, getting together with girlfriends, so that you have something to come back to and share with, so that you can also get new ideas, because we get ideas from each other. So maybe when Karen shared that she reads a book for 30 minutes before bed, some of you are like, I didn't know that. I may try that. You never know what type of conversation is going to come up, and what you may learn, be like, oh, I kind of want to try that. I'm not going to tell her right away that I'm going to try that, but I'm going to try that. Like, So have their own routines, because it's good for us to have some me time. It's good for us to get out of our head. Maybe journaling. We talked about journaling in this retreat, and something I've worked with a few people where I'm not a journaler, but I'll voice memo to myself so that I at least get it out of my mind. And so it stops rattling around inside, because when it rattles around, it doesn't get us anywhere.
Yes, right. Agreed.
And the third one was, if you're up for it, share and create a goal or have a vision of what type of lifestyle you want to create with this person. And something else that comes to mind here is family holidays. Just like Karen said, I've always been the kid who goes up for seconds, and my whole family knows that. And for a while, it bothered me. Like, okay, she's going up for her seconds, and I'm like, absolutely, I'm hungry, and like, but it's having those conversations of, and also being in the field that I am, being able to share the reason why I'm going up for seconds. Well, I didn't get enough ham on that first one. I need some more, like having those conversations, and seeing a way of, where do you want your life to go? Are you working towards it? Because if you guys have this goal of being able to farm till you're 100, if you aren't doing things for yourself now, wait, you don't want 104 chickens at the age of 100?
Let's not get carried away.
Whatever that goal is, if you want to be able to kayak in the next 25 years, if you're not doing stuff now for it, that dream may not happen. So having those, how do we want to live actively when we're done? Okay, what do we have to do to make sure we can still do that? How do we have to help our bodies so that we can still go do all that fun stuff? We can hike, we can kayak, we can farm, we can run around with the dog, we can run around with grandkids if they ever come, like whatever it may be.
Yeah. And communicate that, because
yes,
communicate it, because otherwise you see a lot of older couples that you just don't know what their dreams ever were, because they've just resigned themselves to the fact that we're retired now, and we're in not good enough shape to go and do anything with that time that you've been given. And yeah, that is heartbreaking to see.
I had actually heard this twice in the last couple of days. It's find hobbies now, either for yourself or as a partner, and try them out now, even if it's something that's just a glimpse. Try out hobbies now so that when you retire, there's actually a stat. Oh, I'm going to mess it up, but there's a stat of the amount of people who retire who end up committing suicide because they don't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah.
So try out these hobbies now and create these habits now, change your lifestyle now, so that so you have a healthy mindset when you retire to say, okay, this is different. I know how to handle change. Right. I know how to handle transition. Because if we don't, and we just keep going through the motions, we don't know what's on the other side.
Very good point. Awesome point.
So, Karen, what do you have for me? What were your insights and takeaways? And for those of you on Facebook, drop your insights, takeaways, and anything else that kind of came up for you in the comments.
I guess it's been an evolving takeaway, like I think so many things that I think I knew about, like all these years of conditioning for food, have changed because of the work you and I have done. But also, like, I think that rolls into exercise too. Like we've got to work out 3 times a week for an hour at a time. I was the one that went to the Zumba classes, and I love Zumba, by the way, but
I'm not coordinated enough.
But back in the hour, like it's an hour each time, and you had to get yourself to the gym. And I think that I undervalue or underestimate the value of the mini bands in the morning, just doing something to like make it a routine. And I think I really need to focus on that, not thinking I don't have an hour 3 times a week to go somewhere and do something.
And I love that you said that the vision is 3 times a week for an hour. It's another standard that we put in our life, that's how it has to be. Same with our partner. We have to go to bed at the same time, because that's what we've been conditioned to know and do.
Right.
For the workouts, it's really hard for us to think that doing 3 exercises 10 times, 3 times through can get us anywhere. But everything starts with that first little step. And so often we're like, oh, the thing's only, it's only going to take me a minute. I'll do it later. How often do we put off those really tiny things because we can do them later, but then we never hit that big goal. We never actually finish that big project in time.
Right.
Same thing goes for our workouts. Starting 3 days a week, mini bands right when you walk into your office. You can't sit down at your chair till you do them.
Yep.
Right there. It seems so small, but it's the small stuff, just like when we work with water.
Yes.
Do 2 more ounces today. That's it. 2 more.
Yep.
Drink 2 ounces less of pop today. Like whatever that is, start really, really small. That's where those wins that you can share come in. If we always wait for that big milestone, we're only going to be sharing the bad parts of this journey with our people. And we don't want that. We want to share those little bits of wins along the way.
Right. Yeah.
Any questions or anything I didn't answer for you today that you were expecting us to kind of go over and talk about?
No, I think it was a great conversation. I'm sorry that I took more time than I should have, but
No, we're on for an hour. If we're here for an hour, we're here for an hour.
We got 14 more minutes, everybody. No, I kept looking. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm over time. No, I think we talked about everything that it's good to have a supportive partner or roommate or whatever that, husband, wife, that can at least say, if you can do this and it makes you happy, then I'm happy for you. And that's a good lesson to learn, no matter if you live with somebody else or not. If you see other people, achieving their goals, like, be happy for them, celebrate them. I've learned in the past too, that sometimes if somebody's on a weight loss journey and they're like just slugging off the pounds quicker than I am, that I get like resentful, like, oh, I don't want you to do that. Instead of saying, hey, you do your journey. Like, I'm so excited for you to be on your journey and you're inspiring. And, I think that's really important too, because if you're the person that's doing that, like the person that's going to bed a half an hour earlier just to kind of wind down, I don't need Mike sitting there going, that's just dumb. Why would you do that? You don't need to go to bed early. You're fine the way you are. That whole thing, I think that it's really important to support each other.
And we were talking about Fitbit prior to this too, and you kind of roped it in there. So there's a handful of us that do a Fitbit challenge. If any of you guys have a Fitbit and you want to be in a work week hustle, you are welcome to compete with us. Just let me know drop Fitbit and I'll get you connected. And Karen and I were talking how there's some people in the group who, like, when their busy times of the days are, because they just zoom by you in steps. And there's always that part of us that's like, slow down, I want to be in first. But then there's the other part that comes in of, look at them moving, because we've been preconditioned to have those meanings and those ideas. I don't know, some of you might have saw my story. I'm going to see if I can find it. I posted something on my story this morning and it said, we aren't born hating our bodies. And I'll have to share it in here too, but it was something like, we're not born hating our bodies, but we can learn to love them again. Because at some point we do learn to hate things about us because of things around us, but we weren't born that way. It's something that we learned and picked up on. So if we learned that, we can learn to love our bodies. We can learn to love the progress of everybody else and not having to feel like, well, she's doing better than me or he's doing better than me,
right,
and getting jealous or resentful about it.
Yeah, I think that's very true. It's the whole comparison game. And nobody is on the track that you were on. Nobody is. And if you try to hop over to their track, it's not good either. Like,
no, the grass is always greener. Then you get there and it's just as brown as it was on your side, unless you're watering it of your own.
Yeah. and that goes, I think that goes true for, like, we were talking earlier, like Mike eats when he is hungry. And I think that's just a foreign concept to me. Like, I was conditioned, we eat 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, period. There's no question about it. I mean, that's what you do and that's how you live. And that was one of the biggest hurdles we had. I can remember when we first got married and I had made, I don't know, like pork chops and mashed potatoes and something else for dinner. And he came home from work and he's like, yeah, that smells delicious, but I'm not going to eat anything because I'm not hungry. Oh my God. And I just well, no, I didn't burst into tears in front of him. He went upstairs to change clothes and I just got my plate and I sat in the other room and I sat there like slicing my pork chop very loudly and eating it. And he came down and he's like, are you okay? I'm fine. I am fine. You know, and he was just taught that if you're not hungry, you don't have to eat, and oh my gosh, and of course he didn't ask me because he thought nothing was wrong. He's like, well, you're going to eat because you're hungry and that's cool. And I'm
Right.
not, and that made me madder because I'm like, you need to know that I'm upset.
And we
you need to be in
expect
here.
that when we say fine, they should know that's really not the case.
You should be
Because
coming in
these,
there. Yes.
when it all boils back to that communication portion throughout all of this, if we
Yes.
can communicate even with our parents, because I know I've talked to a handful of the you women in the group, and you share your journey with your parents, and then if it's not going the way you anticipate, you stop sharing because you don't want their judgment on it. And it's normal. We all have, it's in all of us, male, female, old, young, all of it. And it's it's just being okay with sharing of like, yeah, I've fallen off the wagon. Do you want to try to walk with me next week? And asking them, inviting them, and not feeling like you can't share because you're like, oh yeah, I can tell your pants are a little tighter. Like they're like, if they say it, they say it. Or like, I don't really like the haircut you have. Great. I like it. That's what matters.
Right.
But it's not being afraid to share if you know there may be some judgment that has come in the past.
Yeah. Yes.
I know you know what I'm talking about.
Well, and there's also the thing of, like if you host a holiday dinner or something and you ask people to bring things, Sally may be the person that always brings that huge high carb, sickeningly sweet dessert that you're like, we can't have this anymore, or wants to leave it all with you as leftovers, because you don't have time to cook that stuff. Take it with you.
Yes.
Take it with you. And I think there's always that, again, it's the fear of change. Like, what? Like before, people would love to have my leftovers, or we always ate this huge dessert after a meal, whether or not, so you could sit back and go, oh my gosh, I'm so uncomfortable. That is not the sign of a good meal. I mean, it is, but you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's hard to make those kind of changes. And especially when you're newer to marriage, like, I think it's weirder to have those conversations like, yeah, can we ask your mom not to make such and such? Or, and I think so much of our social life is attached to food. Our purpose. I always make the rules, or, that's what I do. And when you change that, then you're changing someone's identity almost.
Tradition. But so something that popped into my mind is, what if you did, like, as a dinner party next, you did like, okay, let's bring everybody bring healthy. Let's make the most healthy, and then let's make the worst food for us ever. Like, make themes out of it.
Yeah.
One, to allow there to be creativity. And for the people who want to eat healthier, you may see people bring a veggie tray that you're like, you eat vegetables? Like, because we don't always have those.
Right.
So creating that theme. And when you said about leftovers, it made me think of the thing I shared of, you're either going to waste it in your body or you're going to throw it away in the trash. Where do you want it? So if you're afraid to offend them, accept the leftovers and throw it away as soon as you get home. They don't have to know. And if you're not going to feel good eating them, don't eat them. But if you don't want to offend them, just say, oh, awesome, thank you so much. And if it becomes constant, then you can maybe have a conversation with them. But like, if you don't want to be confronted with that conversation, just be like, awesome, thank you. And then you do what you need to on the backside.
Right. Yeah. It's so funny. But It's funny what we do.
It is. We've got Andrea that says breaking the bad cycles we may have from being conditioned, and in the process of being honest with ourselves and holding ourselves accountable, but also being loving and kind in the process to ourselves. And she did see the post that I was talking about. So if you ever go check my story on Facebook, I think that's at the top. It's in there. I found it on Instagram this morning waiting for my flight. And I was like, this is really good to remember, because everything in our life we learn. And we either learn it for the better or we learn it for the worst.
Yeah.
But we can always make a change. It's never too late to make these switches. Even the smallest one of, I'm going to use that band once a week. That is my goal. Like, it's never too late to start that.
Right. I love it. Love it.
Well, Karen, thank you so much for being in my funky environment with me and being our guest. I love that you brought this question up. I loved having this conversation and dialogue. And what is your commitment? Because we'd like to take action here. So what is your commitment?
We do like to take action. I am going to commit to doing that mini band pre-work twice next week.
Twice. Awesome. What days are you going to commit to it?
Well, Monday's a holiday, so
That doesn't, we don't do exercises on holidays.
no. Tuesday and Thursday.
Perfect. Awesome. So Tuesday, Thursday, your work day, do you usually start at like at 8 or do you start before that?
It's anywhere from 7 to 7:30 that I start.
Okay.
So
put it in your calendar for the earliest that you could do it. Okay. Remember, when it's in the calendar, it's a non-negotiable. You cannot change it. You cannot move it. There are no excuses about it. And it's in pen. Yeah. So awesome. Okay. Tuesday, Thursday next week, I'm going to get those videos to you. I'll send them directly. I'll just text them to you. There should be 3 of them.
Okay.
And yes, any final thoughts before we sign off here?
No, I just want to thank you for doing this. Let me come on and talk. And I hope something helps somebody else too along the way. But it's great. I love the reality work of this all as well. Like, let's be real and talk about real ways to accomplish our goals.
I love it. And I love that you feel comfortable, letting me hot seat you, because I didn't really give you an option. I was like, hey, you're on for this time, right? You came up with the idea. And 2, bringing your own transparency to this, because I could have been like, hey, Karen, you want to come on? And you've been like, yeah. And if you wouldn't have shared what you shared, this would not have been as valuable for me or anybody else watching live or watching the replay. So I do appreciate you being transparent and sharing your life with us, strangers or friends, whoever it may be in the group, because we all do learn from each other. And it may just be that smallest little nugget that we didn't even realize we'd said. So I appreciate it. And I know everyone else in the group does too.
Cool. Awesome.
Well, awesome. If you guys have any other ideas and you'd like the opportunity that Karen has, you are more than welcome to shoot them my way. I would love to each month kind of have a special guest on. Yeah. And Karen, if you keep shooting them my way, you can keep being the hot seat if no one else wants to send them.
You'll be like, no, take her off. Take her off.
So drop questions, drop whatever you want to talk about. And I'm happy to do kind of this open dialogue. We can also have other people on and kind of do a group setting if more people are on. So yeah, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Thursday, and I will see you next week. And Karen, I will hopefully see you tonight for accountability one.
You might.
Listen.
Chickens.
Sounds good. Well, if I don't see you tonight, I know you'll get the replay.
Yes, for sure.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you for all you do.
You are so welcome. Bye, you guys.
Bye.